Welcome to the Biz Bros podcast. My name is Eli Libby, and I'm joined with my co-host here, Kyle Nelson. And today we have an extremely special guest, one that we've been looking forward to, and you guys are really going to enjoy.
Yes.
Matt Hill. Matt Hill is the founder of One Tree Planted, which empowers individuals and businesses to get out there and plant trees. So welcome to the show, Matt. It's great to have you here.
Hey, yeah, super happy to be here. Thanks.
And where are you at now? I know we were chatting a little bit before, but for the audience.
I'm in Kingston, Jamaica.
Wow, awesome. And you have what are you guys doing down there?
You know, there's two things. My family live in Kingston, Jamaica. So when things were kind of going a little crazy in Quebec, I made an exit and I'm working from here with family. And when things get better, and the other thing is we plant with the Marley family. So the Marley Electronics, Marley Coffee, etc. So we're doing a project here in Jamaica. So I'm actually getting to meet with the Ministry of the Environment and going to see some sites.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Doesn't sound like a bad gig.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's cool, Matt. Well, thanks again for being on the show. We're super excited to have you here, and we're gonna have a great conversation today.
Yeah. So a little background on why we have Matt. It's one to learn about the amazing work he's done, but it's also Results Imagery has partnered up with One Tree Planted. And we just wanted to talk with Matt, learn a little bit about One Tree Planted, how he got started, what really kind of got that fire lit for you, and where you guys are at today. So Matt, if you could kind of just go way back to the beginning of One Tree Planted and, how you got started and why, what was that trigger point where you're like, I need to make a difference and I need to get this thing going?
Sure. Well, my undergrad was in poli-sci, so I took a lot of environmental classes way back in the day. So I've always been interested in it, but not one of those extremists that's strapping myself to a tree or, I'm more of a moderate, right? And then I started a sustainable food packaging company, and I happened to have good timing, but got everything into the Winter Olympics in Vancouver. So they had a mandate that it had to be like compostable beer cups, coffee cups, cutlery, etc. And then the manufacturer asked me to run Canada for them. So it was an amazing job, loved it. So all the grocery stores that were using styrofoam meat trays, et cetera, that cost 2 cents, 3 cents, I was using fiber-based trays, but they cost 5 cents. And the companies would always be saying, can't do it, it's 50% more. And I'd always say to them, it's not 50% more, it's 2 cents more. Right. And pass on that 2 cents to the consumer and ban styrofoam. And people would love to do that or say, sure, you're getting rid of something. And it just wouldn't happen. And I would always hear from companies, we wish we could do more, right? And I said, you can plant trees. People don't realize how important trees are to the environment. And then a really big brand said, Matt, that's a great idea, start that. So I was thinking about it, and I had young kids at the time, was doing a lot of traveling, building that sustainable food packaging company. I just represented the manufacturers. So I started because I know people would love to help the environment. And I always tell people, when you plant a tree, it helps the environment so many ways. One, it helps with cleaning the air, cleans the water, helps with biodiversity, has health impacts, social impacts, and it's helping sequester carbon from the atmosphere. So those are my 6 pillars.
Amazing.
Wow, that is just a win. 6 pillars. 6 cents. I absolutely love that. That's so cool. Being in Central Oregon and in Bend specifically, we are surrounded by the trees, and it's something that we really care about, and our whole team cares about. So when we had the opportunity to partner with you guys, it was a no-brainer. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, we were super excited. We were working with We Hero, who helped us introduce you and your team, and what they're doing is amazing, helping companies with their programs and initiatives. And we were super excited when they said, "Yeah, we've got a partnership for you guys." I'm like, "Let's get started."
Yeah. So Matt, when let's start with kind of an individual, and I know that's a big part of the business. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it more individual based that individuals can create impact, or is it more business focused? Which I guess where is it kind of?
It's a great question. We look at donations happen online, and it's about 100,000 transactions in the year that happen, and most of those are individuals. And when there was the Amazon forest fires, and that one day we had 5,700 transactions, and not one transaction was over $500. That just shows there were so many people that wanted to help the Amazon, and they donated $1, $4, $10, and all of a sudden we had this big pool of money to help these great organizations in the Amazon.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
that's crazy.
I know. We came from California, and we were affected by a lot of the wildfires, and we're just seeing like the devastation out there and trying to be able to give back and impact has been huge.
Yeah. But going to your question though, I mean, a lot of transactions, and that's what I said, $1, plant one tree, and people feel like they can make a difference, collectively. We're planting a forest is my expression. But then when you look at the 2% of the transactions is from companies, let's just say, but it probably represents about 50% in terms of the donations that come in, because they're bigger amounts, from business typically, because we plant with like Facebook and Nestle and stuff. So a bit of a bigger amount.
So do you guys have like a running count of how many trees you guys have planted?
Well, we're 7 years old starting now, and we're a little over 20 million trees in total.
Gosh,
that's just great. Yeah, I never would have thought. Somebody just asked me the other day, when you started this, do you think you would be that big and becoming recognizable? And it's really funny. We spoke to a brand just the other day, and they were saying that they're starting their big sustainability program. This is a big recognizable brand. And they said that they were voting on which environmental cause they wanted to work with. And they said to me overwhelmingly, it was one tree planted. So, that's amazing to hear, and inspiring, saying, wow, they built something that's this, and people are starting to recognize the brand. And that's always been my mission. Corporate culture, definitely the most important, but it was never a big number like, oh, we're going to get to 50 million trees or this and that. I just said, when you ask anybody on the street, about a tree planting organization, the first thing that comes to the top of mind would be one tree planted. So I said, build the brand, and then donations will occur from that.
That's amazing. We talk about that all the time from an e-commerce perspective about building brands. We help companies build brands. And in order to build a brand, then you can stand on top of higher prices and all that different things. But that is really cool to hear that mindset is set. A question that I kind of had as you started talking about that is, especially in the newer or like the millennial generations, they want to support brands that do good for the environment. Right. There's so many different brands out there, like Allbirds and Tom's shoes, all these different brands. I know I'm just naming shoe companies, but they're the support that the consumer has when they give back. We see that a ton, but I think from a company culture perspective, it really binds culture when you have a social impact behind that. Right. Is that something that was like you just said, like corporate culture was a big pillar of why this all started? Is that something that you guys are pushing a lot on, or is that just kind of something that is coming more naturally based on some of the stuff you had just mentioned?
Just being my age and working for companies, and I always said, I start my business, I'm going to have it this way. And I just said, it's so important to have a team that's going to support you. And it's just a team effort. And this, we built this because of the team and everybody being nimble and being able to support each other. No Debbie Downers is the expression I say, and then you just see the result, and everybody's looking forward to coming into work every day, and we're doing such a great work. So yeah, team effort. So it was something that I wanted built in the DNA when we started it.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, since we announced just in our office, like we just see employee morale, like the impact when we have an employee taking one photo that we've really pushed, like realize when you're taking this photo, you're literally making a difference in the Central Oregon forest. Like there will be a tree somewhere out there because of your finger clicking. Like, and it just gets so hyped about it. They're excited and know that the impact just from coming to work every single day. And what's really cool too is the clients we've been talking about, they love that, really because of their purchase, they're making the difference, and we're just the vehicle for them to plant the trees. And so it's just like
it's tangible.
Yeah,
it's exactly. Right? You get it. You know what a tree is, and it's in Oregon. And then learn more about the impact. And I always tell companies or people, like they care more about learn more. It's not about the grand number, whether you say some like fancy number. It's like, I want to learn about how this having an impact in Oregon. And I love the Oregon story. I mean, I'm sure you guys watched the video, but those 1.5 million trees we're planting there in critical watersheds, which is helping with the water temperatures, clean the water, to the Chinook salmon, to the ripple effect, how it's helping the resident orca whale. You're like, what? How does that all happen from planting a tree?
Yeah. And it's really cool too. The more aware we are with your guys' organization and working, because we work with some local companies too here in town, and just seeing like there's all these companies that are part of your guys' partnerships, and we're just like, and now we're starting to find these really cool common grounds with companies to work with, just because we both have a common, need to help the local forest. So it's been really cool. We're working with other companies that are part of your guys' organization and partnerships, and it's cool to just work with others that have a common goal of making a difference.
Yeah. And, going back to the original question, corporate culture, how do you kind of create that and, create that vision, corporate culture, when we're doing something amazing together as a team? But, for the first 4 years in a row, we went to Colorado, and we, as a team, And then we would go visit a nursery, and then we would go the next day and bring our business partners out, and the team got to meet all these people that they're talking to face to face. But then the team really got to be doing stuff together, and we go to restaurants, and that really helps with the team bonding, getting to know each other. And then this past year, we were supposed to go to Oregon. We were changing it up, and we were all excited. We're going to Portland, Oregon, and we're going to plant a bunch of trees and bring our business partners out there. And unfortunately, it got postponed, but we're looking forward to coming back out to Oregon for this year for Earth Month. Hopefully, knock on wood, that we can all be out there and get together.
We'll definitely be joining.
Yes,
Excited.
absolutely. That's another perfect segue into what we were talking about next, which is events. You guys host a lot of different events around planting trees, correct? And bringing people in, they can actually have that experience to plant trees. Tell us a little bit more about that and the story behind why you guys are doing that.
I think it was a significant part of our growth doing the tree planting events, because that really brings people getting their hands in the dirt and realizing how important this is.
Right.
And when we took the pictures from there and we would post it on social or post it on our website, it really showed, hey, action. Because I hear about these pledges and commitments and, again, big numbers, but then it falls by the wayside and people just, hey, what happened to that thing that you guys mentioned you were going to do? So when we do these tree planting events, whether it's in Portland or it's in Los Angeles or Miami, we're getting people out, and then they're like, wow, I want to do more. So it's inspiring, is my sense, and it's really helped us grow.
Yeah, I think that touches on the really the meat and potatoes of this podcast, which is transparency and accountability. I think for these companies that say they're going to give back, you never really, at least I have felt in the last couple of years,
You
never
rarely see
really,
it,
yeah, you never really know if they are actually doing what they say they're doing. What I really like about you guys, and I'd like to touch on how you guys view transparency and what you guys are doing. I know you guys publish a lot of media, which we're huge fans of, photos and videos of these events showing that you guys are actually in the dirt
Right.
doing it, and there's people actually doing it. What do you think about transparency as a whole for social impact strategies and programs for these different businesses?
People with access to, the Googles and phones and everything, you can just see what's going on in real time, right? And I want to bring people along for their journey. And then I feel that, trying to be as transparent as possible. I mean, people always ask me, like, how do I know my tree is being planted? And then if you go back a year later, how do I know my tree even survived, right? So the pictures, the picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So all those photos are there. But I know I'm not answering the question exactly, but there's 4 significant costs: site preparation, cost to grow that tree, and then the cost to put that tree in the ground, and then the maintenance. And then so for this journey, call it for 18 months, bringing that donor, whether they gave $1 or $100 or $1,000, we want to treat everybody the same across the board, saying, hey, we really appreciate that dollar that you donated to Oregon. This is the project it's going to. These are the types of trees that it's going to. This is when we plant the trees during the rainy season. Hey, we're growing a tree. And then those photos are saying, hey, look, we're out planting those trees, right? And then there's the post-project report saying, hey, we got 80,000 trees planted at this particular project, and we had 85% tree survivability, and here's how it made an impact. And then people ask me questions, well, what happened to those 15% that didn't survive? It snowed, or they got eaten by the local deer on that particular site, or, there's a percentage of trees that don't survive because when they go into the ground, they weren't planted properly, or so a lot of factors. And then for transparency too, I've had some donors that say, can I come out and visit the site? So I totally recommend that. Come visit the nursery where we're growing those trees, then come out to the site and see it for yourself. And I've had people come and just, out there helping out in whatever way they can.
That's cool. Yeah, we're really excited. We've already planted some trees just to kind of kick it off, and we can't wait to get our first big shipment. We're gonna invite We Hero to do it with us, and probably some local clients as well. But going back to the thing, just out of curiosity, what does the maintenance look like with the trees?
Well, so maintenance can be a lot of different things, because, to stop the leaf ants in certain areas, or, habitat from just like eating it. So I know in Oregon, when I was out there, they're saying a big part was the deer, local deer coming. So, when we give that donation to that partner, we look at a thing called additionality and permanence. So that organization's already planting 50,000 trees, and we give the donation of 10. They should be planting 60,000 trees. And that's what we look at for the additionality, right? Like increasing their salary or buying a new pickup truck, right? But what we will look at is maybe they could put a tree guard around that tree so that, the deer won't eat it, or they could fence the perimeter, or they could add fertilizer to the project so we could overall enhance the tree survivability of the project. So, and then it could be just even going to have to water the trees afterwards and check on the trees.
Right.
But, in some of the big, organizations, they just plant, the right tree, the right time, right place. So, it's typically in the spring when the soil's moist and they know that they're going to get the proper watering in that spring season. And then we'll go back, a couple months afterwards, a year afterwards, to just like report on it. And we just going on the transparency, a big push for 2021 for us is satellite monitoring. So that we can look at the next 3 years, 5 years, in terms of the percentage of trees that are there. I mean, some of the technology is fast progressing that they could capture a lot of really cool metrics. And one was sophisticated, it could get down to the leaf blade, and it could even detect like new ant holes, like ant nests that are growing. Crazy.
That's insane. Wow, that's super insightful. Yeah, I guess full transparency, I didn't really think about the maintenance. Like I know the impact we're going to be making with planting the trees, but I didn't think about the survivability and the maintenance of it, and just kind of most people just think planting a tree, right? You get the shovel, get the tree, and call it good. But it's actually pretty cool and insightful to learn actually.
Totally. People think
you just
donate $3 to me, and I go out tomorrow and plant the tree in Oregon and Bend, Oregon for them. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. So, we have these buckets of money for Oregon. Donations are coming in when the planting, so that they have to collect the seeds, grow those trees in the nursery so they're reaching a certain size, and that it's ready for, call it the spring, to go out there. We're planning, like, call it a year and ahead. And then that donation that goes to Oregon, we might give a watershed $2,000 to get the trees in the ground, others $80,000, and then every dollar's tracked, and your dollar went to one project in Oregon, somebody else's could have gone elsewhere. But the important thing is the follow-up. Like, hey, I donated $20 to you guys 6 months ago. I haven't heard peep from you. So again, it's been a critical thing for me to be there. Or if you call the company and you have an issue that, we're responding in less than 24 hours, hopefully hours, to get back to you and resolve that problem. Because we can all be in those shoes where you're calling and you're on hold or nobody gets back to you. And it's very frustrating. So that is definitely something that's my top priority. Yeah, everybody drops the balls, mistakes happen, right? But you're correcting it, not just being in this limbo state.
That's so cool. Yeah, communication is key.
Yeah, we're super. So I think how many trees did we get shipped? I mean, it wasn't much. It was just like
that we initially planted. It was only I think we only got like 15
trees. Yeah. We have one in a bucket that we have as pretty much a office plant. Pet.
Yeah.
that kind of represents, though, to always remind everybody, when they're working, look over, like, this is truly the impact we're making. Don't forget that, because it's part of what we do.
It is. Matt, talking about the 6 pillars that you talked about before, kind of these educational pieces to potential customers. Out of the pillars, which one do you think resonates most with people? I know it's going to depend on region, but when you guys are either selling or pitching on your website, what is kind of like the bigger priority pillars that people maybe resonate most with? Like, for me, I didn't know, I was not educated about how it improves some of the watershed and the Chinook salmon. Like that's amazing to me how it kind of connected all the dots there. I think about sucking carbon out of the air, as well as replanting the forests from a fire. But tell us more about maybe some of those higher priority pillars and educate customers on that.
I think the one that resonates the most, and it's one of my favorite, is the biodiversity that people take for granted. So when look, if you take the Australia bushfires, 2 billion animals were lost to those forest fires. 2 billion, what a crazy number. And then when you look at the amount of that are displaced because they needed these trees for protection, because they stayed up there to stay away from prey or whatever it might be. So, so animals, comes top of mind, that people are like, oh my God, you're helping with the koalas, right? Or you're helping with, the spotted owl up in Northern California, let's just say. And then to me, health, it's so therapeutic where, you go out and you're under that tree in the shade, or it's just like bringing down the temperatures in the hot summers that we're doing for canopy cover. And it has holistic benefits. So many, right? And that's the great thing, because there could be climate deniers, and I've been there with them, and they don't believe in it. They think it's a cyclical thing, but they had the touch point saying, I know when I give you this money, it's going to create jobs. And I'm like, absolutely. So that's the other one too that I see is a fast growing area. So social impact. Hey, when we're creating this nursery here in Rwanda, it's empowering women to be into the
Right.
forest. And we're creating agroforestry, fruit trees, nut-bearing trees, and there's a sustainable livelihood behind here. And I went out to a site in British Columbia, and this girl, was a tree planter for many, many years, and then she, quit because it's very physical work. And then she worked, and then she went into a deep depression, and then she went back out to tree planting, and then she felt so much better and got out of that. And it's so therapeutic when you're out there in nature.
Absolutely.
So it's proven. Yeah.
That's amazing. I think what you said about pulling on those emotional strings of people love animals. I really don't know who doesn't like animals, but when you pull on those strings from a biodiversity standpoint, I think that is super impactful. Right? It's so cool. And then
It's insane.
Therapeutic. I mean, that's just stuff that I don't think people think about that when they think about planting a tree.
No. You think of planting a tree.
Yeah,
like, that's
but they're
it.
not
Like I
thinking
said,
about
like
the
they're not thinking about
human element
everything
and
else.
the emotional connection there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Supporting the job force. I didn't think of that one.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Like,
Yeah, you guys are doing
so much.
There's
It's
so
amazing.
many different,
It's
no
cool.
pun intended. There's a ton of different routes from what you guys are doing. you guys are
Nice.
It's really cool.
That was witty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually wanted to mention something. I saw on your guys' website, you guys have all your galleries for photos of different really big events you guys did in 2020. And I noticed you guys went to Paradise and helped with the campfire and planted trees. I personally lost my house in that fire. And so seeing the impact you guys made on my community, it's like not only, planting trees, replanting the millions that were lost in that fire, but you guys helped the community as well come together at a time of loss and deep depression. And everyone's just like, what the hell happened? 95% of buildings burnt down. And then there's this company coming saying, hey, let's help out. Let's plant some trees. So I just wanted to personally say thank you to you and your organization for doing that, because before One Tree Planted, I heard about it. And today we're looking at the gallery and I was like, holy crap, that was One Tree Planted, the company that we're partnering with. So crazy how it all came around. So thank you for doing that. Just want to personally say that.
Hey, no, thank you, and appreciate that. And sorry to hear that, but yeah, I use that as an example. Got wiped off the map. I mean, Paradise, Butte County. So what, the thing, take that example that you just mentioned. So now they need trees, but they're in this state of, call it chaos. And what do we do? Infrastructure's first, and lives and everything like that. And trees, putting those trees back in the ground is kind of down at the end. But sometimes it can be vital because they have to bring moisture back in the ground, so they're not going to get the spark up again. And then when they need that funding, I think it was a couple $100,000 that was needed. It would have taken very bureaucratic to get it through the state.
Oh, absolutely.
So like, hey, you need to get those trees ordered at the nursery right now. Boom, we're in. And then they got it for next season to just get it in. And then a lot of those trees were distributed to private landowners that could just put it on there. That might not have happened, but now they're getting for free. So it helped a lot. So wherever we can help. And then up in British Columbia, again, another forest fire there. And they noticed when it hit aspens and cottonwoods, the fire stopped. So they're, a lot more resilient to fire. So they said that if they would have gone to the provincial government to order these trees, it would have taken forever, but they need them now to kind of like look for the next season. Are they seeing, difference? Obviously the trees need to grow, but One Tree Planted to just be nimble and to be able to support when that funding is needed. We're trying to create this nimble fund, us and WRI, so that when these type of immediate needs are there, that we have this funding that we can just like kind of support immediately. And now going to Butte County as well, just to say there's a critical junction where those forest fires keep happening every decade. And they have asked to do oak trees because oak trees are more resilient to drought and forest fires. So we're doing that.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, I was actually going to ask the different kind of trees you guys. I mean, you guys, is it just like you guys have access to nurseries for all kinds of trees depending on the regions, and are typically those nurseries local to those regions?
Localized, acclimatized, and when Butte County and California is broken up into like 98 resource conservation districts, they all know specifically what they need for their area. They know it best. So when they say, hey, we're going to order these type of trees, we rely on them as the experts to know what's needed. So we provide that funding for them to do it.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Wow.
Well, I think we're going to probably start wrapping it up here.
Yeah.
What's, I mean, hard to say, but what's next for One Tree Planted? Just continuing the focus and the mission of it. Do you guys have any cool new initiatives you guys are working on? Any cool projects coming up?
I'm hoping in April with Earth Month that we can get out there and organize a lot of tree planting events to happen, because that just gets people out there. And, my big thing that I say is talking to people like you And, letting people know it's small little steps that collectively make a difference. Yes, planting trees is important, like we said, with the 6 pillars, but people feel paralyzed that they can't do anything. It's beyond them. But I'm like, look, you can go volunteer at a local watershed and help them. And it might not even be planting a tree. It could just be helping with invasive tree species removal. It could be going to parks to just clean stuff up there, right? You could be a vegetarian for a day, right? So that's why I'm saying these small little actions collectively make a difference. And I think with COVID and everything, people are now realizing, hey, in this short time, because look, you could see the Himalayas within months. You started to see waterways that became more clean within months. So if we actually do make these conscious efforts to do things, you can see the positive difference. So I think this was an eye opener for everybody. And now people are looking at doing things differently.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's
yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. Before we wrap up, what was the Himalaya part? I'm interested.
But the air, there was so much smog. And now when there was less cars on the road, less planes in the sky, right? All of a sudden you could see the Himalayas just because there's not smog there. And then waterways that were so dark, you couldn't even see the fish. So now, the big thing I saw, especially from the corporate side, was, well, is it really going to make a difference? I'll put X amount of money in there. It's going to take years before we're going to see anything. Not because it's not the right thing to do. They don't know, is this really going to work? But now in that first 3 months, they were showing clips from around the world where like, wow, look, we can see the Himalayas, which we haven't seen for ages. So my point was, we can see now if you make small little changes, corrections, that it can be better.
Yeah, I know the Bay Area, San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
It was like all over the news.
Yeah, cleared up.
There's like nobody on the roads. It cleared up super fast.
Yeah, yeah. And have you guys seen the state of California, that video series? But like when they're interviewing like all these different stakeholders throughout California, and the thing we have to do is look at doing things a little bit differently. There's what's that expression of doing the same thing over and over, the definition of insanity, expecting a different result. So, we need to be doing, fuel load reductions or spacing the trees differently, or maybe doing a few different tests, maybe the materials we're using for housing, So again, I'm seeing some people that are being more open-minded to approaching this differently, which is great.
It's a good thing, that there's always a positive out of a negative of 2020. That's for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, and then so for 2021, our team and inspired and working with groups like you guys and getting you guys out to come meet our team. So I just encourage anybody who wants to ask more questions. I'm always available to talk to anybody, and I love doing it. So
that's awesome.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Matt, for your time. We are very excited. Like we said, we're launching February 1st, and we're going to start counting the photos and seconds of video to start getting some trees in the earth. And we appreciate you just jumping on the podcast and letting us kind of talk to you and honestly educating us more about it. Really is more of an impact that we're doing than just planting a tree. And that's actually really exciting because we can now share these different impacts that we're making with our clients. So thank you so much, Matt. Do you want to let everybody know where they can find you and One Tree Planted?
Sure, onetreeplanted.org, or my email, matt@onetreeplanted.org. Feel free to send me an email. And I got to get you guys some t-shirts. Did you guys get some reforestation t-shirts?
We don't have any swag. We got to get some. We were actually saying that this morning. We need to order some or something. So
I'm going to send it to you guys, so don't worry about it. So connect and I'll get you guys and the team what you need.
Perfect.
That'd be amazing.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Well, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the Biz Bros podcast, and we're looking forward to talking to you guys on the next episode.
Have a good one, guys.